Hey, guess what? It's time for another viewer suggested video. We had a viewer of the channel say, you know what you should do is tell us about 5 artists who got better with age. So I'm going to do that coming right up. Hey, it's Russ from the Infectious Groove podcast and YouTube channel. I always say and YouTube channel, so if you're a viewer of the channel and you haven't heard the Infectious Groove podcast, make sure to hit the link in the description, subscribe to that show, because in addition to the 3 YouTube videos we have for you every week, every Monday we have a full-length episode of the Infectious Groove podcast and hundreds of episodes of that available now as well. But today's video comes from the comment section on this channel, and a viewer reached out and said, hey, you should do, 5 artists who you think got better with age. And I want to say before I get into my list, none of these artists are anybody that I disliked in their time as a younger artist. These 5 happen to be ones who I happen to like their whole career, but in my opinion, their later career is a whole different level from where they were before. And I feel like I've only got one obvious one on here. So I'm going to start out with one that I think is less obvious, and that is Tom Petty. Again, I have zero problem with the Heartbreakers material in the late 70s, early, and of course, everything they were doing through the 80s. The famous Stevie Nicks compilations are, I have no problem with anything that was done at that time. But for me personally, I think that Tom Petty solo between like the Full Moon Fever era, the Traveling Wilburys, what he would do later with the Heartbreakers, all the way up to and including the last album put out by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Hypnotic Eye. For me, I think the songwriting just went to an entirely different level with everything Tom Petty was doing in the later half of his career. So for me, that's number 1 on the list. I'm going to knock out the one that I think most people would think is the obvious one. Could be just my personal taste, The Beatles. The White Album is my favorite Beatles record. I mean, from Rubber Soul on, it's a completely different animal than the Beatles were when they were introduced to the world. Again, I don't have any problem with what the Beatles did in their early part of their career, but the creativity is off the charts from Rubber Soul to Sgt. Pepper to the White Album. I just all the way across the board. I think that their creativity alone and the chances that they took make them a better artist in the latter part of their career than the first part. The next one that is on my list now, this could be a controversial pick. I feel like with this band, there are 3 distinct eras. There's the Syd Barrett era led band, there's the Roger Waters led band, and David Gilmour era. When I say that Pink Floyd got better with age, I am not saying that the David Gilmour era near the end of their career is the best era, but I feel like if you listen to the first Pink Floyd record up into The Dark Side of the Moon, you can hear them becoming a band good enough to make The Dark Side of the Moon. And then from there on, they took everything that they learned, and there's a reason why The Dark Side of the Moon is always one of the largest selling records of all time, because they learned how to be a band that good. And by far and away, I think Pink Floyd is a much better, more accomplished, and just more enjoyable band later in their career because they got better with age. After that, this is one that, again, I guess I didn't think about this, but this could be controversial or a hot take. The band U2. Again, no problem with Boy and October and The Unforgettable Fire and The Joshua Tree. But for me, again, if you notice between what I said about the Beatles and Pink Floyd, I like when artists grow and expand and try new things. And did U2 have some misses over their career in the latter half? Sure. But they've always tried to expand. Like for me personally, I think Achtung Baby is the best record that they'll ever do. But you have to want the artist to branch out in order to like that. But for me, I think the latter half of U2 is absolutely fantastic and definitely a band that got better with age. The last one that's on my list, I think is probably, I don't know, the hottest take of all, and this is something I will fight you over. Elvis Aaron Presley, I think, was head and shoulders a much better artist in the latter part of his career than he was in the beginning. And again, I love Teddy Bear and All Shook Up and Jailhouse Rock and all that stuff. But if you take a listen to nearly anything Elvis was doing between 1970 and say 1974 in the studio, he's grown so much as an artist. And before people get in the comment section and say, oh, well, he wasn't an artist because he didn't write his own songs, I do think that song selection and what he was able to do with those songs vocally does have a great deal to do with how he grew and got better with age. So I think Elvis Presley definitely is a much better artist as he got older than he was in his younger years. As we say in these videos all the time, like, hey, the comment section matters so much. Like, this video came about because of the comment section. So leave a comment and let me know what you think about my picks. And if you have an idea for a video you'd like us to do in the future, drop that comment as well. And as we always say, thank you so much for watching.